Capcut is without a doubt the best beginner-friendly editing program, and today you're going to learn a simple 10-step workflow to create YouTube videos that look so good people will think you use the fancy editing programs that cost tons of money and take years to learn. Let's dive in. Now, if you've never edited or used Capcut before, have no fear because we're going to cover everything you need to know today. And first things first, you need to make sure you're using the right version of Capcut. You see, there are actually three different versions. You have the online web-based version, the downloadable desktop app, and then finally the smartphone app. I'd highly recommend using the downloadable desktop app. It's the most powerful and easiest to use. And I actually have a link in the description where you can get started today. All right, with that out of the way, we can dive into this 10-step editing workflow. It's crucial you hit every single one of these steps with every video you post on YouTube. The last thing you want to do is forget one essential step, post it, and then live forever in regret, wondering what the true potential of your video would have been. The first few steps are pretty straightforward, so I'll cruise through those quickly, but then once we've got the foundation laid, we will really dive deep into the best strategies to pump up the quality of your edit. So stick around, you don't want to miss that stuff. Step number one is nice and easy. Import and organize your content. To import your content into Capcut, open a new project, and in the top left, you'll see the import button. Just click that, find the footage on your computer, and hit enter. I've already got mine organized in folders for both A-roll and B-roll, but if you haven't already, just click right and select create new folder within Capcut. Moving on here, step number two is what I call laying the foundation. This is where we take these story-based clips and align them in chronological order on the timeline. For example, in this video that we're editing here, I have a few different segments that really drive the story forward. We have the intro clips, an outdoor section, the next part is in my office, then we go downstairs. You get the point. In this step, we take all of that footage and drag it down to the timeline and organize it chronologically. Up next, in steps 3 and 4, we enhance two of the most important elements of your content: color and sound. With talking head content like this, I like to enhance the color and sound now. That way, as we continue moving throughout the editing process, the actual clips that we're working with both look and sound good. I personally film most of my content in a log format, which results in a higher quality shot, but only after you color correct it. This is another reason why I like color grading here in the process. We can do it all for the clips before we start cutting them all up and making it more complex. With the color and sound, this step is crucial. You can see all of these clips are flat. They were shot in a log picture profile. I want them looking good so that throughout the rest of the edit, I'm not just staring at a gray image. Now, this is pretty straightforward in Capcut. They've made our life really easy. All you need to do to get to the color control is select your clip. And now check this out. This area on the right that I referred to as like the flex panel earlier, when you're not selecting a clip, it just has your project info and you can modify it if you like. But then when you select a clip, now we have all these alternative tabs that come up like video, audio, speed, animation, adjustment, okay? The color controls are all within the adjustment tab. So with this clip selected, we can come up here, make sure we have adjustment, and then in that we have 4 sub tabs, okay? The following 3 are kind of advanced and we're not gonna dive too much into that in this training. For the vast majority of people getting started editing YouTube videos, you wanna stick to the basic tab. Now, I shot all of these clips in a log picture profile, and I actually have a color grading preset called a LUT that I like to use to get these back to looking normal. So I will come down here to where it says LUT. I will select the LUT that I wanna use, which is right here, the S-Log3 LUT. And now we've converted it back to Rec 709 color space. Now from here, we can adjust the image to get it looking better, okay? And this is subjective, but I think this scene is a little underexposed. You can see my black shirt. It's really hard to see any of the shadows. It's just kind of all one dark blob because it's a little underexposed. What we'll do here is scroll down into these controls right here. If you've ever edited a photo before, you're likely familiar with exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows. They're all really straightforward. Because this image is a little underexposed, I can counteract that by grabbing the exposure, bringing it up just a little bit. I think that already looks a lot better. And I'm gonna come down here to the shadows. Now the shadow slider, it's only impacting the shadows of the image. So the darker area here in my shirt, the table, the shadows over here. If I grab the shadow control and bring it up, you can see it's brightening those areas of the frame. The reverse applies to the highlights. So if I wanted to lower the light in the background, the brighter portions of my face over here, I could grab the highlights, bring it down, and then if I wanted to, we could add just a hair of contrast back, and that looks a lot better already. But that's basically the process you want to apply with your initial color correction, okay? It doesn't need to be the most complicated thing in the world. You're really just asking yourself, is this too bright, too dark, or are the colors too warm or too cool? Those are the major issues that I see with beginner content creators. We just touched on how to fix over or underexposure. If you wanted to, you could also come up to the temperature control over here and make the image cooler or warmer. Now, I think this one looks pretty good right out of the gate, so I'm gonna leave it exactly where it is. And just turning this box here on and off, we can see the before and the after. Obviously, that has made a world of difference. Now, if all of my clips were relatively similar and I wanted to apply the same color grade that I've done here to all of the other clips that are in the edit right now, all I'd have to do is come down here and click apply to all. So now that the color's out of the way, we can focus on the audio, and Capcut has made this literally so easy, it's comical. So with our clip selected down here on the timeline, we will come up here and switch over to the audio tab. Now, if you wanted to, you could manually adjust the volume and some other settings, but really all you need to do is check the box for normalize loudness, okay? That's going to analyze your clip's audio and then adjust it to basically the perfect volume and keep it smooth throughout the entire clip. And then we'll come down here even more and check the box for reduce noise. If you're filming outside or just a loud environment, the reduce noise feature is gonna do a really good job of eliminating all that nonsense. Now, unfortunately, there's not an apply to all button here for the audio settings, so we would just come to all of our other clips, click the same exact things, and again, normalize loudness, reduce noise, and so on and so forth. You would do that for all the clips in your edit. Now, yes, you will notice there are some other pro features like enhanced voice, video translator. They're all labeled as pro. These are great features, and I think CapCut Pro is amazing. I personally have it myself, but for today, we're gonna focus on primarily features in the free version of CapCut. And to prove just how powerful the free features are, here's a before and after of our audio using just those free tools. And after just a few tests that I filmed on this camera, it honestly compares to my Sony a7S III. And after just a few tests that I filmed on this camera, it honestly compares to my Sony a7S III. Up next, we've got step 5. Forget to do this and I guarantee your views will plummet. Cut the fluff. You see, unless you're absolutely perfect on camera, which I'm not by any means, there are always going to be these pauses in between lines, mistakes where you messed up a line and then you have to repeat it to actually get it right, or just simply boring sections that, if left in, will kill the retention of your videos. We need to do our part for the viewer and cut all of this fluff. All right, so time to cut the fluff, and I promise if you can memorize 3 keyboard shortcuts, it will speed up your editing like crazy. So down here on our timeline, you can see if we zoom in, we have these little audio waveforms, okay? This represents a section where I am talking, and then where it's flat, I'm not talking at all. We need to cut that stuff from our video. To make your life easier, you can actually enlarge the waveforms by clicking on these 3 dots, audio waveform size, and checking 60%. Now it's just much easier to see where I am talking and where I'm not talking. Now, to cut the fluff, we are simply splitting our clips and then deleting all the fluff, okay? So with this clip selected, we're gonna hit Command or Control B. And that just turned what was 1 clip now into 2 clips. Now we will scroll to where that section ends, right? This non-talking portion, because we have our audio waveform here. And we're gonna hit the keyboard shortcut of Q, okay? This is delete left. Everything from this playhead right here to the left, we are gonna delete by hitting Q. Boom, it's gone. And now we are talking portion that leads directly into another talking portion. We would then go to this section right here, create another split point by hitting Command B, and then we will go to the next talking portion and again hit Q. We are just compressing our video so it's only the talking portions that our viewer needs to see. The last keyboard shortcut that's worth mentioning here is the opposite of Q, which is delete left. Instead, we have W, the next key on the keyboard, and that is delete right. So if I came here and created a cut point, right? We have this talking portion. Scrolling to the left, if I wanted to delete all of this section to the right of the playhead, we wouldn't hit Q because that's delete left. It would delete everything over here. Instead, we hit W, okay? It's gonna delete all this. Boom. And again, we've compressed our video. Now, those are the 3 keyboard shortcuts. You could go through the entire video, cutting it all up, removing the fluff just like this. And if you ever forget those keyboard shortcuts, just come up here to the top of your timeline and you will see the buttons for split with the keyboard shortcut Command or Control B. Then you have delete left, which is Q, and then you have delete right, which is W. Do not waste your time clicking those buttons. Use the keyboard shortcuts. It will save you so much time. And if you want to know the other keyboard shortcuts in this program, come up to the shortcuts button right here, click on it, and you will see everything listed in one place. The only other thing worth mentioning here is a feature in Capcut called transcript-based editing. So if we were to come up to our timeline controls right here and click on this button for transcript-based editing, what that's gonna do is analyze all of the talking in your video and turn it into an actual script. So here you can see we have a full transcript of our video now. And what's cool about this is you can literally scroll through the script, highlight, let's say, this text right here. And if you wanted to get rid of this section, you could just hit delete on your keyboard and it would delete the actual video from your timeline as well. It's a really helpful tool for editing if you like to base it off the transcript. You can also highlight these little sections here. These are the pauses in your video. So you could literally just select like this 12.42 second pause here and then hit delete on your keyboard. And it's literally, you can see right here, it's just deleted that non-talking section on the timeline right there. Again, multiple different ways to get the same job done, but now you know. All right, now we've got the story completely assembled, colored, audio enhanced, the fluff has been cut. It's time to really upgrade our videos. Steps 6, 7, and 8 are what really separate the beginners from the pros: B-roll, graphics, and effects. Now, depending on the type of video you're working on and your personal preference, you might do each of these one at a time. For example, finishing all of the B-roll before going back and then adding all the graphics from start to finish. Or you might do what I do, which is basically add B-roll, graphics, and effects all at the same time in one single but longer pass throughout the entire video. Either way, these steps are crucial. Let's start with B-roll. The more visually diverse and stimulating you can make your video, the better. Think about all of your favorite creators on the platform. Watch their content and you'll find that they are always breaking up the patterns of their videos and enhancing the visuals through the use of B-roll. My favorite YouTuber is MKBHD, and his tech videos stand out through his use of beautiful B-roll, taking up the frame throughout the entire video. Another creator I love is Ryan Trahan. Completely different content topic, but again, watch his videos and you'll see even if it's a basic clip of him walking down the road, he tries to cover up his talking with as much B-roll as possible so you have something to watch other than his face. Even me right now referencing all these other creators and showing you the clips, that's an example of B-roll as well. While you're filming, try to make a note to capture not just yourself talking, but also what you're talking about. Now, we have plenty of videos on our channel that cover exactly how to do this. Not to mention our full online course, 14-Day Filmmaker, has a masterclass included on this one topic alone. A lot of times I will actually stop right here at this step in the editing workflow, watch the rough edit I've made so far, and start listing out all of the B-roll shots that would be helpful. From there, I actually go out and shoot them all in one quick outing and then continue back with the editing process. Depending on the style of your video, this process is actually really efficient. Now, adding B-roll is really straightforward. We just go to sections in our rough edit where we know we have a clip that can add more visual depth. So for example, here in this script, in this video, I'm talking about this camera and how the sensor is upgraded and it's really high quality. Now I know I have an actual video that I shot of the camera sensor. When we go into the B-roll folder and then the unboxing folder here, this clip is me unboxing it and I take the lens off and I show the actual sensor. So I need to scroll and just find the smaller section of this larger clip where I'm showing the sensor. So if I come over here to the left-hand side of this clip, I can actually drag through it and okay, we're opening the camera, great. This is, all right, so right there, okay, I take off the lens and you can see the camera's sensor. So I'm gonna drop this right here, okay? When I drag this clip onto the timeline, it's only gonna drag the section that's actually highlighted within these two markers. So that is probably good. And now I can come to that section, click it and drag it down. right here. Now, even though we've dragged it down, I still want to do a little bit more fine tuning. So right here is where we're showing the sensor. I'm actually going to trim this clip to right there. And then we put the lens back on. So we'll come down and just trim the rest of it as well. The biggest thing in my eyes is the new sensor. You're getting this. So you can see there we introduced the sensor, and now we have this clip on the second layer of the timeline. The reason we have the second layer is because we don't want to disrupt anything in the actual talking portion. This whole bottom layer is dedicated for just the talking portion of the video. Whatever is on the top timeline, whatever is on the highest layer, that always gets visual precedence. It's what's being shown to the actual viewer. And right here we have our B-roll clip. Now, I filmed this with an overhead setup. It's flipped upside down. So with this clip selected, we can come over to our video tab here. I'm just gonna type in 180, which is gonna rotate it so now it's actually up. And since we're adding it here as well, I can come over to adjustment and add our Rec 709 LUT as well, just so the color correction on it looks great. As is the new sensor. You're getting the same exact sensor that's in the A6700 and the FX30, two cameras that are much more expensive. What that means basically is in a blind side-by-side test, and that's the basic process of adding B-roll. You find the actual clip you want to bring on the timeline, select just the best portion that you want in your actual edit, bring it down, align it, trim it, get it polished off exactly how you like it, and then move on to the next B-roll clip in the process. Now, a pro tip while you're going through your B-roll, if any of your clips are a little shaky, maybe you filmed them handheld or you were walking, there's a really nice free tool in Capcut to stabilize your content. For example, this clip right here was filmed handheld. It's a little shaky. With that selected, we can come over here to the video tab, scroll down, and just check this box here for stabilize. That's gonna analyze and process your clip and stabilize it a ton, which is really nice. Doing this on your shaky B-roll clips can really help improve the quality of your videos. Now, steps 6, 7, and 8 are B-roll, graphics, and effects, okay? Now, one really popular effect that people like to use for their B-roll are transitions, to actually transition from their A-roll to their B-roll. In CapCut, adding transitions is really simple and easy. Up here in the top left, we can come to the transitions tab right here. Now there are tons built into the program. A lot of them are gonna have this pro sticker on it, which means you need to upgrade to get those transitions. But at the same time, we have a lot of transitions that are great and free. Two of my favorite transitions are pull in and pull out. They're basically zoom transitions. So if I type pull in, okay? We have this transition here. It shows you a basic preview of it. Now, using a transition is really easy. All you need are two clips that are right next to each other side by side, and you drop the transition on the cut point between those two. Now, the only issue here is if I want to transition from this clip to this clip, with them not being on the same layer, they're not right up against each other. If I drag this transition and bring it down, unfortunately, it's gonna say there are no continuous clips, we can't use it. So naturally, what you would think to do in this position is grab this clip and bring it up so that we now can transition between this clip and our B-roll clip. But if you saw what just happened there, all of these clips on the A-roll timeline just shifted to take up that space. So we'll hit Command Z to go back, all right, we move this clip back down. And to solve this, we just need to change one little timeline setting. Come up here to where it says turn off track magnet, okay? Click that, and now when we try to bring this clip up, because there's no longer a magnet dragging these clips back, they're gonna stay exactly where they need to be, and I can come grab this transition and put it at the junction. Now when we play through this, it will perfectly transition between the two clips. Is the new sensor. You're getting the same exact sensor that's in the A6700 and the FX30, two cameras that are much more expensive. What that means, really cool, right? We have a much more dynamic transition going from our A-roll to our B-roll clip. And now if we wanted to do the same exact transition, but in reverse, essentially to end our B-roll clip right here, we would drag our A-roll up just so we have that continuous clip-to-clip action right there. We can now do pull out, which is the opposite direction, drag that down, and now we have a really fluid transition into our B-roll, and then moving to the end, we have a transition out from our B-roll, zooming out. I think that's one of the cleanest and most professional transitions you can use, going from A-roll to B-roll. Okay, so now you know all about B-roll, how to edit it like a pro, along with some popular effects like transitions. Let's now cover adding graphics, animations, and some more effects to help enhance everything we do. In the video here, we have a section starting where I'm filming an Instagram reel, okay? So I'll play through it here. All right, so up next, we're gonna film a short form reel for Instagram. So I'm just gonna have a basic text pop up on screen that says short form test. Now to add text to a video in Capcut, we are gonna come up here to the text tab, and I'm just gonna choose the default text to start. We can customize it after the fact. Now we are gonna add that to our video here. You can see it's on our screen, and it's also created this new text layer here. You can see when we scroll our playhead over it, the text is back on screen. So I'm gonna have one word pop up at a time. Our first word will be short. Now I'm gonna change the size of this and move it down here. Now I wanna get the styling right, and I'm gonna come and change the font by clicking here. And I like the font Anton. I use that one a lot. Increase the size a little bit. Now, before I duplicate this text out, so we have another layer for short form and test, I actually want to add an animation to this, because if I add the animation now, then I can duplicate it and it will keep all those things and save us some time in the future. So really easy. With our text layer selected, we're going to come up here to the right where we have our animation sub tab here. We'll click on it. So we have in animations, which are for the intro of that text. We have out animations, which is getting the text off of screen. And then we have looping animations that loop as the text is actually on screen. We'll start with in, and I like the, let's find one. A lot of these are gonna be limited to pro, but we've obviously got plenty of free options as well. Glitch is pretty cool right here. So if we click on this, all right, so up, you can see it just added that animation to our text here. So that's our in animation. If I wanted to make it longer or shorter, I could come down here and increase the duration. All right, so up next, we're gonna film a short form reel. So you can see how that was a much longer animation than like this one, right? So really quick. I'll stick at around 1 second. So up next, we're gonna film for the animation, and now for the out animation, let's just do slide down. That looks pretty good. Now I want to realign this text so it actually pops up on screen when I say the word short. So we'll just grab it and move it over. Beautiful. So that is timed well. If I wanted to, I could lengthen or shorten the clip by just grabbing the end and moving it like any other clip. But now that we've got this text layer all set, we can quickly duplicate it, bring over all the style adjustments, the animations as well, so we don't need to repeat that work. Just hold Option or Alt on your keyboard, select that layer, and drag it out. So now I can take this second layer, drag it over, right? This is now 2 layers. Double click and we'll change the text to form. And then we've got one more. We will hold Option or Alt, drag, and now we have our third one, which we will bring over, double click, and say test. All right, so we'll play through these and then just get them lined up. Up next, we're gonna film a short form reel for Instagram. So that's obviously way too slow. We need to get these guys way closer. Next, we're gonna film a short form reel for Instagram, and I can already tell I'm gonna love this camera because pretty easy, okay? And that's how you add text and animate it in Capcut. And what's really cool is if you wanted to reuse this same text style throughout your edit, again, you don't need to create it from scratch. You can now select all 3 of these layers by just dragging it like I did there and selecting all 3, and then hold Option or Alt, and now you can duplicate all 3 as many times as you want. So maybe this is like a title sequence for you. You can just keep reusing it over and over again. So as you edit, you can get even faster with your workflow. Up next, we're gonna do something that all YouTubers add to their videos, and that is a background with a title card. So here in the video, I'm talking about a feature that the camera I'm reviewing has. It's called 422 chroma subsampling. I wanna represent that in a graphic because it's a little complex. I wanna make sure the viewer gets it. So I'm gonna hit import here and grab my kinetic dots background. I like to use these all the time. They're just like a moving gradient background. So we'll drag this in and then bring it down on the timeline here. So we'll play through it and get it lined up. On top of that, we also have the ability to film in 422 chroma subsampling in 10-bit color. We have an entire video on this. Okay, so we've got that lined up. I'm gonna cut it here. We don't need any of this extra stuff at the end. Now, I want to transition to this background. We've got this cool flowing background. All I need to do to create that transition, like before, we'll create a split point here and then drag this clip up. So now we have that connection there. We can go to our transition tab. Now we have this transition here, just a slide right transition. We'll drag that down, and now playing through it, you can see the transition. Pretty cool, so it just whips over and now we can create our graphic. Now I wanna make this a really nice and visual graphic, so I actually have this image of the camera that I can import just like any other piece of footage. I'm gonna drag that down onto our graphic here. We'll resize it, move it over to the left here. Now I actually wanna animate this image right here, so I can actually just come over to the animation tab here with our image layer selected, and we have all of these different presets that we can choose from. So we have this animation right here. It's free, I like it. It's called Roll Right, and when we click on that, now we have a really cool transition where the camera kind of rolls onto screen. On top of that, we also have the ability to film in 4:2:2. Now we can add some of our text. Now all I'm gonna do is copy the text we made just a minute ago, Command C, and then we're gonna hit Command V, which pastes it right here. Now you can see that text is here. Again, we're just carrying over that animation, and I can type in 4:2:2, and then we'll bring this up, duplicate it to another layer, bring that down, and then we could type in chroma subsampling. Just rearrange our graphics a little bit here. And now we have a really nice professional graphic to keep our viewers engaged, help them better understand exactly what it is we're talking about. And it only took 30 seconds to do. On top of that, we also have the ability to film in 4:2:2 chroma subsampling. Now let's actually get pretty advanced here for a quick second. We're gonna transition this entire graphic we made back to our next clip. Now remember, to drop a transition on something, it needs to be one continuous clip up against another continuous clip. We have all of these different layers here, which is obviously just, we can't drop one transition on all of these. So we're gonna select everything here, right click, and create a compound clip. All that's doing is basically combining all of those things together. We've maintained everything, it all looks the same, but it's in one compound layer right now. This brings us back to where we were before, where now we have two clips butted up against each other. I could come up to the transition tab, and let's use another one of my favorites, glare. That one is really nice and just kind of clean. A lot of editors use this nowadays. We can drag it down and bring it over our two clips here, and we'll play through that transition. In 10-bit color. We have an entire pretty cool. We just have like kind of a camera flash glare transition that brings us between our two clips. I really like the way that looks. If you didn't and you wanted to reverse things, you could literally just delete it, right click on your compound clip, and then hit undo compound clip, and then we're right back to where we were. But like I said, I enjoyed how all of that looked, so we will just go right back to where we were. Now, if you want that same motion background that I was using and some other free bonuses, make sure you stick around to the end because I'm gonna give those to you for free. With that being said though, you now know how to add text, graphics, and animations to your videos to really enhance that visual quality. After you've gone in and added all of your B-roll, graphics, and effects, the finish line is approaching very fast, but we still have some absolutely crucial steps. Coming in at number 9 in the workflow, we have music and sound effects. Never forget that audio is half of the viewing experience, and to truly create the best content, you need to focus on adding in great music and sound effects that further push the emotion and storytelling elements to new heights. Throughout this video that you've been watching, even though it's just a simple editing tutorial, with each new section or step, we use music and sound effects to help emphasize the change in pace with each new topic, helping to increase engagement and create a more immersive experience. Now, especially with sound effects, consciously, you might not pick up on every single sound effect in the video, but from the risers and the hits marking each new section, to the whooshes and the pop noises accompanying the graphics and animations, every opportunity we have to add more depth through sound, we capitalize on it. And if you stick around, I'll actually give you some of my favorite sound effects for free, but first, let me tell you about 14-Day Filmmaker. If you want to learn everything there is to shooting and editing professional content while spending as little time and money throughout the process as possible, look no further than 14-Day Filmmaker, an online course that has taught over 135,000 people. We cover literally everything: the best gear, the cinematic camera settings, beautiful composition, professional lighting, how to record high quality audio, storytelling, how to go viral on social media and YouTube, and so much content on editing, it will blow your socks off. Amilcar took the course and is now averaging millions of views per month on YouTube. Ashley used her content skills to turn her passion for music into a full-time career. Thousands of students have started freelance businesses with what they learned. Not to mention, anyone who enrolls also gets lifetime access to our weekly live Q&A calls. They get free bonuses like sound effects, editing templates, color grading LUTs, cheat sheets, and more. All of that for less money than a dinner date with your grandma. Not to mention, you actually get 3 courses: a smartphone-specific course, a pro camera course, and a directing crash course. The link to learn more and enroll is in the description below, but if none of that sounds interesting at all and all you want is the free sound effects, I've got those linked in the description as well. Anyways, now let's dive back into adding music and sound effects to our videos. Now, this graphics section that we just made in the video is actually a perfect spot where we can show how to add sound effects. So I've already imported this little folder right here of my favorite essential sound effects, okay? So if we click into that, we have all these different sound effects. And right off the bat, let's just find this portion in the video, all right? So we have a graphic whipping on to our frame. I have this whoosh sound effect. I actually have a bunch here. Let's play through it. So that sounds really good. We're literally gonna select that and drag it right down here. Okay, this is the audio layer underneath our video. And as our graphic transitions on screen, now we're gonna have this sound effect to make it make sense. Have the ability to film in 4:2:2. So that's lined up perfectly. I don't need to move it at all, but it is a little loud. Now, to adjust the volume, I can grab this little line here and lower it. You can see that audio waveform is getting smaller. Alternatively, I could come up here to the basic tab and literally just bring that volume down. You can see again, it's adjusted that waveform. So that's perfect. It's lined up well. It sounds good. Let's move on. We have this glitchy text that comes onto frame, and right here we have a glitch sound effect. Now that's obviously really long and we don't need that entire sound effect for that quick little animation. So what I'm gonna do is actually, let's just scroll to where the text is popping up. So like right here is good. Now all I'm gonna do is select a very small portion of this. We'll bring it down. Now even that is way too long by itself, so we will shorten it down even more, basically just to where the text comes into frame. Let's play through that. 4:2:2 chroma subsample. All right, so it's lined up. It doesn't sound too bad. It's a little aggressive, like in how harshly it comes into frame. So what I'm gonna do is grab this little dot right here and drag it over to the right. What that's doing is creating a fade. You can see also up here, it just adjusted the fade in. It just kind of more naturally introduces that sound. So let's play through it. In 4:2:2 chroma subsampling. Much better, and that perfectly lasts for the entire length of the text coming onto frame, and we are good to go. I would continue going on throughout my entire video, adding sound effects at every opportunity possible. Now, when it comes to adding music, you first need to find music. If you don't have any site that you use online, my recommendation for free music would be YouTube's audio library. If you just Google that, it will come up. There's tons of copyright-free music that you can use in there. After that, my favorite paid site is epidemicsound.com. That's where I get all of the music that I use in all of my videos. It's great, it's affordable, and they have a huge selection. I'll have a link in the description below where you can get started with Epidemic Sound if you want. From there, you would just hit the import button after you've got your music downloaded. You would find it on your computer and you would just double click and import it in. From there, you would just drag it onto a new audio layer on your timeline, adjust it to wherever you want it to be. And typically, you're gonna have to use your ear for this, but I bring my volume down usually to around -20 dB. Now it depends if it's a loud song you're using or a quiet song, but all I'm gonna do is actually play through the video and make sure that it's not too jarring or in the viewer's face. On top of that, we also have the ability to film in 4:2:2 chroma subsampling and 10-bit color. We have an entire video on this. That's good. It adds a little bit of atmosphere and emotion to the video. And then throughout the rest of the video, I could keep that one song playing, or realistically what I like to do and what you'll see in this video that you're watching right now is I kind of break the video up into chapters by introducing new songs for each new segment of the video. Now, finally, we have one more step. Export. But first, I do highly recommend you do one more final pass of what I call quality assurance. Here, I'll watch through the entire video and stop at any point to address any issue I see. Usually this means stopping and doing more color correction and color grading on clips, especially the B-roll clips that we might not have got in the first pass. I also try to double check all of my, text and graphics to make sure I don't have any typos, even though somehow one or two always seem to squeak their way through. Other than that, you would just head right up to the top right corner of your screen, hit on the export button, and then you can copy the exact settings that I have on my screen right now. And that is pretty much it, my friends. You now know my 10-step editing workflow. If you'd like to see an even more detailed training on Capcut for smartphones, we've got a video linked on screen right now that you can check out. Other than that, hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.